Nobody wants to remember what happened between 1938 and 1945, yet no one wants to forget. Over 70 million people died during that time, including about 20 million military personnel and 40 million civilians, with over 6 million Jews among them. Many civilians died because of deliberate genocide, massacres, bombings, disease, and starvation. The Nazis were responsible for most, if not all, of the conflict. To achieve this, they needed a strong military and a huge sense of nationalism. But beyond that, Hitler had Joseph Goebbels, a propaganda mastermind. Goebbels was responsible for brainwashing the people of Germany, shaping the image of Hitler and National Socialism, and above all, convincing everyone that eradicating the Jews was necessary. On March 15, 1938, the Nazis announced the unification of Austria and Germany after Hitler visited and gave a speech there. This was very important because Hitler was born in Austria. Goebbels explains to Hanke, an official of the Nazi party, how important it is to show the people how warmly Hitler was welcomed in the streets of Vienna. They discuss preparations for Hitler's upcoming speech. Hanke tells him that Himmler, one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany, has arrested 20,000 Jews and killed over 100 of them for the sake of street safety. Goebbels' face lights up when he hears this, but tells Hanke not to mention it in the news. He explains that propaganda is not about telling the truth, but about triggering the greatest emotions. Later, Goebbels meets with the directors of the Ministry of Propaganda and tells them that every citizen must be on the street holding banners for the grand welcoming of Hitler. Goebbels then attends a party where film actors, musicians, and filmmakers are present. He knows that you can't always play marching songs, and the people need entertainment too. At the party, he tells Gottschalk, an actor married to a Jewish woman, that their marriage is not easily acceptable. That night, Goebbels gives a ride to a Czech singer named Lida and tells her about his romantic interest in her. The next day, Berlin prepares to welcome its leader, and just as Goebbels wanted, the welcome party is legendary. Hundreds of thousands of Germans attend the celebration, and Hitler gives one of his most memorable speeches from the Führer's balcony at the Reich Chancellery in Berlin. After the speech, Hitler praises Goebbels for organizing such events and tells him how proud he is. That night, Goebbels goes to Lida and she asks him about Hitler. He opens up and tells her all about Hitler and the people around him. He talks about whom Hitler trusts and relies on the most, like Goering, the military leader, and Himmler. He shares details about Hitler's inner circle and the deep secrets of the Nazis, naming everyone and explaining their roles. Then, they spend the night together. In the morning, Hitler speaks with Goebbels about his desire to wage war against those who stand against him, and he wants to do it quickly. Hitler believes that war is something every generation must face, but Goebbels knows the people are against war. Hitler feels he's getting older, and to see his dream of making Germany great, he must act fast. A few weeks later, Goebbels and his pregnant wife, Magda, attend a movie premiere along with Hitler and other important Nazi figures. Goebbels gives one of the amazing speeches he's known for. At the premiere, Magda notices a connection between Lida and her husband and starts to investigate. After Magda gives birth, she confronts Goebbels about his affair, but instead of denying it, Goebbels tells her the truth. He admits he loves Lida, but he wants to keep Magda as the mother of his children. He tells her that Lida will become part of their family as his second wife. In the following weeks, Czechoslovakia gives Sudetenland to Germany, and Goebbels thinks this is a great victory. But the foreign minister, Ribbentrop, believes they should take the whole of Czechoslovakia because no one can stop them, and France and Britain are not ready for war. Hitler is convinced by Ribbentrop's idea and wants to mobilize troops into Czechoslovakia quickly. However, their plan doesn't go as expected. Leaders from Italy, France, and Czechoslovakia meet in Munich on September 30th, 1938 and agree that Sudetenland will be part of Germany and nothing more. Goebbels sees this as a great victory, as they can buy more time to arm themselves while gaining territory peacefully. But Hitler is not pleased. He wants to take over all of Czechoslovakia and move into Poland as soon as possible. Goering suggests turning the people's attention to war by claiming they are under attack, but Goebbels knows that won't be easy since they have been promoting peace for years. Hitler grows frustrated and orders Goebbels to make the people follow him, even into war. Himmler and Rosenberg, a Nazi theorist, report to Hitler that Goebbels is not doing his work because he's spending too much time with Lida. They show Hitler a history of Goebbels chasing after women. Hitler calls Goebbels and tells him that if he marries Leda or divorces his wife, it would greatly affect the people. He orders Goebbels to promise that he will never see Leda again and stay loyal to his wife. Goebbels believes in the cause more than in himself and gives his word. After this, Leda is humiliated at a theater and forced to leave the country. This deeply affects Goebbels, but soon he gets back on his feet after hearing some news he can use for his propaganda. In Paris, a young Jew has shot and killed a German diplomat named Rath. Goebbels plans to use this to launch a full-scale rampage against the Jews and turn that momentum into war. On November 9, 1938, Goebbels gives a speech to high-ranking Nazi officials, saying the Jews will pay for what they did, and makes the rampage official. Hitler also gives a speech to the press, saying they won't stand by and will use violence to secure Germany's freedom. A few weeks later, Germany signs a non-aggression pact with Russia for 10 years, giving them breathing space to attack the West and divide Eastern Europe with Stalin. This allows Hitler to begin his invasion of Poland. On September 1, 1939, Hitler gives a speech to start the war, and they invade Poland. Goebbels spreads false information to the public to gain their support. Mass executions of Jews and Poles become daily news for the world in the coming years. Germany officially takes over Poland, and the people cheer the victory but still fear the spread of war. Goebbels is tasked with getting the people to support the war and involving them if necessary. But most importantly, Hitler wants a movie that will make the people hate the Jews more than ever. Goebbels convinces filmmaker Harlan to hire the best actors and portray the Jews as evil to the people of Germany. On July 6, 1940, Hitler defeats France and returns to Germany. There he is met by Eva Braun, a photographer, who captures his grand speech. Later, Goebbels shows Hitler the anti-Semitic movie GEN0CIDE. The movie portrays Jews taking food and job opportunities as they arrive in Germany. A few weeks later, Hitler comes to Goebbels' house and tells him he has decided to invade Russia. This is unexpected, but Hitler fears Russia might try to take over Europe once Germany has exhausted all its resources trying to conquer it. Goebbels is hesitant at first, but after thinking about it, he realizes it could be an incredible feat of strength for their propaganda if they win. Hitler wants to keep this a secret until the final day of the attack, and tells Goebbels to only speak on the radio when he says so. Hitler believes he can win in Russia in just 4 months. In 1941, Hitler invades Russia, and the war goes perfectly as planned. Goebbels visits Hitler at Wolfschanz, Wolf's Lair, Hitler's first Eastern Front military headquarters in World War II. Goebbels tells him that although the war is going well, they should expect a few setbacks. But Hitler is very confident that Russia will fail in a matter of months. Hitler also wants the anti-Jewish propaganda to continue, claiming the Jews helped the Soviets build their empire. For this, another film, The Eternal Jew, is used to fuel the anger of every Nazi member against the Jews. Hitler and Himmler discuss the process of exterminating the Jews. Himmler shows Hitler pictures of the executions and explains the mass murder process. Hitler calls this humane and tells Himmler that he always knew the extinction of the Jews was inevitable if he came to power. Himmler then says, making them extinct might be hard because even though they are shooting thousands of Jews every day, they still won't reach 500,000 by the end of the year. Himmler suggests using gas to mass murder them, which would speed things up. Hitler tells him to do whatever it takes, believing the Jews are a criminal race. Dietrich, the press chief of the Nazi regime, calls the press and announces that the Soviets have been defeated. Goebbels doesn't like this because the war is far from over, and he doesn't want to spread completely false information, which could divide the soldiers and the people. Hitler then tells Goebbels that they are stuck in Russia and cannot make progress. He instructs Goebbels to spread the news that the war is taking longer because the Jews are helping Russia. This led to the introduction of the Jewish badge, making it harder to support any Jewish person since you would be treated as a Jew yourself. Then they blacklisted a number of people who had relationships with Jews. This caused many families to commit suicide, including Gottschalk's family, as there was no escape from this hell. Goebbels then introduced war movies about the ongoing battles and used new methods to make war films like never before. These films would show the public how Germany was winning on different fronts and convince them to support and possibly join the war effort. On Christmas, Goebbels connects every German war front to the national radio, and they all sing the German Christmas carol, Silent Night. But Hitler is worried as many German soldiers are stuck in Russia due to the cold weather, and their allies have failed to help them. Just then, Hitler receives a call from Stalingrad informing him that the Russians have breached their defenses and the troops are no longer capable of fighting. In these dark hours, Goebbels gets an idea to increase the number of Nazi soldiers. He plans to draft as many civilians as possible into the war and promises Hitler 2 million new troops. In February 1943, Goebbels prepares a great speech that stirs nationalism in every German soul and drafts over 1 million civilians into the war. He is highly praised for his success in getting all of Germany on board with the war. To make the necessary financial allocations for the war, they cut off most luxuries, except for a few things to keep the people entertained. When asked what he would say to the world about the killing of millions of Jews, Goebbels simply replies that they won't deny it, and they have done so much wrong that they have to win. The extermination of Jews reaches its height, and countless inhumane methods are applied to speed up the process. Hitler organizes a meeting with his generals and tells them that what they are doing to the Jews is necessary, because the Jews would have done the same if they were in their place. A few months later, Hitler receives terrible news from the capital. Berlin has been bombed by the British. Thousands of Germans died, and instead of accepting his defeat, Hitler becomes fanatical, saying the city was poorly built and needs to be reconstructed. Goebbels begs Hitler to speak to the people, but Hitler refuses, saying he will only speak after victory. Goebbels then suggests a peace treaty, but Hitler refuses, claiming their engineers will create a miracle weapon. On July 20th, 1944, an assassination attempt is made on Hitler at his Wolfschanze, Wolf's Lair. Goebbels rushes to visit him. Hitler survives the attempt, but 4 of his generals are killed. Hitler believes this is destiny and continues his mission. The perpetrators are executed immediately after they are found guilty. Finally, in April 1945, many Nazi generals flee and abandon Hitler. Hitler tells Goebbels that the Russians are now in Berlin, and he has decided not to fight because he might lose and fall into Russian hands. Hitler and Goebbels hide in their bunkers, still pushing propaganda, but they know all is lost. Their death camps have been discovered, along with the horrors they committed against the Jews. Goebbels knows they have done too much evil to simply disappear, and on April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler commits suicide along with his wife Eva Braun, whom he had married shortly before. Hitler appoints Goebbels as his successor, but Goebbels also commits suicide along with his wife and children. This marks the end of the Nazi regime and Adolf Hitler. Holocaust survivor Margot reminds us that we are all human and people must respect each other. The movie concludes with a quote from Auschwitz survivor Primo Levi: "It happened and it can therefore happen again." Therein lies the core of what we have to say. And that's the story behind the dark and twisted power of propaganda during World War II. What do you think about how propaganda shaped history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, share this with someone who loves history, and subscribe for more recaps like this one. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.